theme today is accepting the self and accepting others. Is that an easy thing to do or a difficult thing to do? What do you think? Easy? Pardon? Depends on the day. Depends how you're feeling that morning. Yes, I understand. But it's a very important thing to do. And I was thinking, first of all, well, how long did it take Baba to accept me? How long did it take Baba to accept you? 1 second. Not even that. He accepted you before you even came to him. Baba knew already who the child is and what the child needs. And yes, that's the wonderful, one of the most wonderful aspects of our relationship with such a father, that Baba accepts us instantly, doesn't take time. And how do we come to Baba? Do we come perfect, ready, already nearly deities? No. This morning Baba was talking about all the different stages in the cycle, and so at that point at which we come to God and God accepts us, we all know we're at that lowest point. And in that state, Baba accepts us. That's incredible, isn't it? I always remember once going with Daddy Janki to visit a prisoner in prison who had really committed a very, very bad crime. And on the way I asked Daddy, I said, Daddy, you're coming all this way to meet this man. And he had a lot of love for Baba and for Daddy, and he created some very beautiful carvings and he wanted to present them to Daddy. Daddy went twice to visit him, and it was a good 2 hours or more drive from London. And I asked Daddy, I said, Daddy, there are many good people in the world and Baba's not sending you there, but here this person has sinned not just in God's eyes, but according to spiritual laws, but according to even human laws, and Baba's sending you here. And her answer was interesting. She said, yes, those who are very good, they have the arrogance of their goodness, so they don't want to learn anything. So why should Baba send me there? But here's a soul who's reached the bottom, and in such a condition, the soul is able to receive Baba's love and be uplifted, and that's why Baba's sending me, to be an instrument for that soul's upliftment. And I was very touched by her answer. And when we get to this point at the very end of the cycle, this is what Baba comes to do: uplift us, purify us, change us. And the mantra Baba gave in the last Murli, you probably have learnt the Hindi word now, parivartan, parivartan, parivartan. Transformation, 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 no matter what happens. That's Baba's task. But Baba can only begin that task if he first accepts us. And then that task, I can only begin to do that work on myself and have the task be successful if I accept myself. And like Helen said, we go through phases. Sometimes we accept ourselves very well, and sometimes we don't. Am I right? Is that everyone's experience? When we've done something good, when we feel that our instruments are pleased with us, the daddies are pleased with us, we feel Baba's pleased with us, we've achieved some personal transformation in our stage, we've had success in service, then it's not so difficult to accept the self, right? But when I've made a mistake in one way or another, then that's the time when it's not so easy to accept myself. But that's the time when I have to especially accept myself. Accepting others is another subject. We'll come on to that in a moment. But especially at the time where I feel I haven't fulfilled the desires that others have in me, or especially at that moment where I know I've done something, even sometimes small things that are not really what Srimad is saying, then at that moment it's so vital to accept the self so that our mistakes don't increase. And yesterday Baba said to us that don't hide anything from the eternal surgeon, right? And we all know, Baba tells us so often in the Murli, that where we're honest, where we have an open heart, where we share with Baba, then half of what we've done is finished already. But then actually that's part of the process by which we accept ourselves. Only if I'm beginning to accept myself can I put myself in front of Baba and talk to Baba about what's going on inside. Of course, we know that we don't have Sakar Baba in front of us right now. And of course, then we say to souls, okay, write to Daddy, write a letter, just share your heart, whatever. Yes, everyone has that right to keep in communication with Baba's senior instruments. And in doing so, that helps with that whole process that I accept where I'm at. And in that acceptance, I'm also making another statement, and that statement says, I accept where I'm at, and I want to do something about it. I want to change. Otherwise, I just keep it all buried inside. And when you keep a sickness buried inside, not just a physical sickness, when you suppress a physical sickness, but when you keep a spiritual sickness buried inside, it just increases and increases and increases, and it'll erupt eventually. And so part of acceptance very, very much is communication. And actually, we can feel, even though we know Sakar Baba isn't here, Mama isn't here, but we feel their presence, so we are still in front of them. We're definitely in front of them, and they're in front of us. Yesterday when I was hearing the Murli, especially here, I don't know why, but, well, why isn't a question, is it? But somehow I really felt Mama's presence in front of me. Baba was talking about Jagatamba, and Baba's been talking about Jagatamba a lot the last 2-3 weeks, at least 2 weeks. The introduction of Jagatamba, the inheritance through Jagatamba, what you gain through Jagatamba. She's the one who fulfills all desires. So much. And I thought, well, okay, for me to get my inheritance, Baba and Mama in front of me. And whenever the daddies speak about the early days, they talk about both parents, not just Baba, but Mama and Baba. And you just feel that Mama would have loved to be with us. And, Mama had education in a convent school, so amongst all those of the early days, Mama could speak good English, and imagine she's the one who isn't here. There's a twist in the drama. So we can't ask why, we can't say anything. And I remember once in the early days when we would come, Big Didi Mamohini, commenting, if Baba were here today in Sakar, Baba would want to spend the whole night chatting with you. And then that's exactly what Avyat Baba did. Does still. Now Baba goes at about 11. Baba needs an early night these days, maybe. I think the chariot needs an early night. But those days Baba would chat with us all night. till never early. We would never go away from the hall earlier than 2 a.m. Never. But often 3, often 4, often 5, often 6, and one day even 10 a.m. Once Baba stayed all that time, so how many hours? 12, 13, 14, 15 hours Baba was with us. So, okay, days have moved on, but definitely Mama and Baba are in front of us all the time, are with us. And you can get a feeling, as I was coming up the mountain the day before yesterday, when I arrived in Shantivan, we came to say hello to Dadiji, and she'd just come out into the courtyard, or was just coming out, to sit in the sun. And so we had a little while with her just to give her a little news. And she doesn't say much, All she did, she listened, and then some people came up and said they're going to Calcutta, and she just said, like a mother, have you had your lunch? Have you had toli? Here, take toli. Just simple words. But her presence was so powerful, really playing that role of the mother and father. And again, I was thinking about Mama, thinking about Dadiji and Baba, and the presence they have, in Madhuban especially, you feel they're with you. And so much love in their eyes that there's no question of them not accepting you. Do you ever feel that they're not accepting you, or that the daddies are rejecting you? Anybody ever felt that? Oh yes, you have. Oh, okay. Okay, well that's another topic. Because maybe sometimes we get a stern eye. But is a stern eye rejection? Is it actually rejection? What do you think? Those who feel they felt that rejection, do you think it's rejection, or is it a stern eye out of love? Not sure. Well, think of turning it around in your mind, Once you get a concept of rejection in your mind, it's very, very difficult. Very difficult to remove it. On a human level, if we feel rejected by anybody, the hurt of that is very, very deep. Am I right? It's worse than anything, when you feel somebody you love has rejected you. And yes, in a way, I guess I have been through those feelings, sometimes with Daddy Janki, but it's actually, when I look at it afterwards, I know very clearly in myself that it's not a rejection. Because Daddy has never given up on me. Daddy has never, she's shown me many stern eyes, many. But that's what's brought me to where I am. And obviously, there's a very nice proverb, a Jewish proverb actually, that a potter, looks after his pots. A potter creates a clay, makes pots. And if a pot is strong, then the potter will ding, make sure there's no cracks. Will knock the pot. If a pot is weak, the potter will never do this because the pot will break into pieces. So if sometimes you feel you get a bit of a stern eye, then remember, it's the potter. Just checking you out. Are you still strong? Are you still okay? And you may quiver a little bit, but no, you're fine. So don't break apart. Be a strong pot. So, okay, maybe sometimes I may perceive some things as rejection, but often it's such a love that the daddies have for us that they, like Baba says sometimes in the Murlis, they can't bear to see us with any defects. And if you think about Baba's Murlis, especially when Baba speaks very strong Murlis, when Baba spoke the Murli on the which date was it, about purity. Can't remember the date now, 2 or 3 Murlis back. Those who were in Madhuban said how, Baba's face was very, very strong. Baba's face was Dharamraj. I think, Helen, you were here for that Murli. Is that right? Some people, that's the feedback I got, but you still didn't feel it. It was strong, but not. So, but sometimes in Sakar days, Baba would be very strong with the children. But Baba's love, so powerful, because Baba wants everyone to reach the highest. And so, let me never take it as a rejection. And let me never reject myself as a consequence of that, of what I may perceive as a rejection from others, especially those who I feel are instruments. Last year, when we were with the youth coordinators, Daddy Janki was giving a number of classes, and one of the things she said, which touched me, was, I can't remember the question, but I can remember the answer, but she said that it was all in the context of loving the self, that's right. And she said, I never ever give sorrow to myself. And when we don't accept ourselves, when we reject ourselves in some way, we start to give sorrow to the self. And no matter what happens, let me never give sorrow to myself. It's not going to lead me anywhere, and it's going to be a block, a barrier to any transformation that I can have inside. If I'm not giving sorrow to myself, then at every second I have that ability then, or it happens naturally for me, to put a full stop to whatever's happened up to that point, to put a full stop to even the second before or the minute before, and to always become new at that moment. Sometimes we feel when our old sanskars overtake us, we feel sometimes a little bit helpless, right? We feel sometimes that we're being, strangled by our sanskars. I don't know what other word to use. And when we feel that we're being strangled or overpowered by our own sanskars inside, and in fact every bit of Maya that comes to us, it's nothing really to do with others, it's about my reactions and my own sanskars causing me that problem. And when I'm feeling in that condition, because I'm rejecting myself, I feel as if I don't have a right to change. Have you been through that? I feel as if I'm not worthy to change. And that kind of feeling, it's mixed up with, self-doubt, a feeling of not being worthy, a feeling of guilt. And those kind of emotions are so destructive. And if I don't do something about it, and I don't get help, and I don't do something to shift myself out of that feeling of suffocation, then it's a possibility that I'm really going to drown, and the mistakes increase, and it becomes very difficult. Yesterday, Yuko was mentioning about being mature, and she was sharing with the youth coordinators, very lovely experience. And maturity is about understanding that I have a right always to take from Baba and to be the self-sovereign and to be happy inside. Sometimes when we feel we've done something wrong or our old sanskars have overtaken us, we then feel we don't have a right to be happy. we feel we have to punish ourselves. I had a very interesting conversation with somebody, and it was connected with our prison work, and she was asking me, well, if somebody's really done something wrong, don't they need to be punished, And so I was taking her through the attitude with which we do the work and say, look, if you punish a person, whatever guilt they're feeling, whatever negativity they're feeling inside, their self-respect will go down and down and down, and they're not going to be able to have the strength to do anything good. And if you give somebody respect, if you give somebody a chance, if you give somebody love and you give them an opportunity to change and to educate themselves, and that person transforms and begins to make a positive contribution to society, isn't that better than a person, in a sense, drummed into the ground? What did Baba say in the first Murli? If somebody falls, do you kick them down even further? And when I explained it, she said, oh yes, I understand. And then what do we do to ourselves? When we feel we've done something wrong, okay, never mind anybody else, we kick ourselves and we say, it's no good, you're no good, why did you do that? How can I face anybody? How can I face Baba? So we feel we don't have a right to transform. And if you do anything in Madhuban this season, this visit, leave those kind of thoughts behind. Really, really smash them on the head, beat them up, wrap them up, send them away, put them in the rubbish dump. Baba's never told us to do that in any Murli, has he? Whenever I see a defect in myself, what is it that I have to do? I have to see what is the virtue that is lacking. If there's arrogance, then what is the virtue that's lacking? Humility, right? So what do I have to do? Analyze my arrogance or practice humility? It's obvious, isn't it, when you ask the question? Yesterday when we were sharing in the coordinators retreat, we were being asked, the question was, what is the greatest gift you feel Baba has given you? And one of the sisters said, Baba's given me choice in my life. And it's true. Before, when we were at the mercy of Maya, we thought we had choice, but we only had the choice of body consciousness. We only had choices within a very limited range of awareness, right? Of this kind of body consciousness or that kind of body consciousness, and nothing outside of that. Since we've become Babas, and we've understood Baba's Gyan, then we have a real choice of body consciousness, of soul consciousness, of vices, of virtues, of being the slave or of being the self-sovereign. Now that's choice. Of having sorrow or experiencing happiness. And so let me accept the choice. Let me accept my right to make that choice. And let me value myself enough, accept myself wholeheartedly, whatever defects, whatever virtues, accept myself wholeheartedly and say, well, here I am, this is the state I'm at, fine, now let me not think about it anymore, but let me make the choice I want to choose and move forward from that point. Put the real choices in front of you. Not the choice between self-doubt and guilt and punishment and fear and sorrow. That's no choice. But the choice between all of that and being a self-sovereign, between the sorrow of that and the happiness and the joy of being the master of the self. And I loved it when Baba said, think of being a self-sovereign, and all the list of what it means to be a self-sovereign comes in front of you. You just practice that awareness, you feel so royal. Move along in that awareness. We have been talking a lot or exploring a lot about the power of churning. I know we've only had the coordinators retreat for one day, and there's so much in that one day that we've shared. And while I remember to tell you, there's a room, when you go at the bottom here, when you go towards the art department, before you reach the art department, there's an empty room. So over the next few days, it comes out onto the lawn just before, next to the conference office. So over the next few days, the youth group, through the coordinators retreat and the forum, are going to be displaying things, posters, or maybe someone may be singing a song, or I don't know, dancing, anything, writings. So gradually things will be displayed in that room, and that's for everybody to look at, so you can all get a feel and a taste. So keep a lookout for that room, and go in and have a look. And I think within 2 or 3 days it'll start to have very nice things put on the walls, and it'll continue through the forum till the 30th, 31st. But yes, we were really looking at the art of churning, and Baba has been referring to churning, and then with churning there's dharana, and really, there's a difference between churning, between thinking, between planning, and often we think about things, but it's not churning. If really I have developed that art of churning, then even one very powerful thought takes me into the experience of that thought. And along with that, I'm increasing power in myself. And along with that, I'm experiencing that stage. And along with that, I'm able to give. Daddy Manohar was talking to us about how in the early days they would sit in solitude and just enjoy being introvert and practicing soul consciousness. We don't practice enough. I don't practice enough, let me speak for myself. And it's been lovely, even in this one day, to just practice. It was very nice. I was waiting for a phone call there, and often I think, well, let me fill in the 15 minutes and do something. I just sat there, just practicing soul consciousness. So many spaces where we can practice. And when people say, I don't have time to churn. Anyone says I don't have time to churn? No, you won't say it, even if you say it. Then I say to people, do you have time to worry? Everyone has time to worry. You can worry day and night. You can worry in your sleep. You can worry when you're having a shower. You can worry when you're driving. You can worry when you're cooking. You can worry when you're talking to someone. You can worry all the time. So why can't we churn all the time? We have the time. Again, it's choice as to what we want our intellect to do, where we want our awareness to be. And when I begin that practice and I develop that practice deeply, it's a deep practice that the Daddies practice from the beginning, and they have never stopped that practice. That's the thing. Daddy Janki would say, every day she asks herself 3 questions. Who am I? Who do I belong to? Who is it? What is it that I have to do? These 3 questions. Till today, the daddies have not stopped practicing deeply, deeply, ever more deeply, that stage of introversion and silence. And of course, Baba has said it a few times in the Muralis, that to be soul conscious is to remember Baba. To remember Baba is to be soul conscious. The 2 are not separate. And the more I go inside and practice that stage deeply, deeply, my relationship with Baba is becomes very, very strong, very, very natural, very, very close. And that stage, again, this season, Baba talked about natural soul consciousness. No effort, no labour, only success through that. Take the time in Madhuban to just go back again and again to that practice. And it'll emerge such beautiful feelings in you that there won't be any question of not accepting yourself, because you just feel so beautiful. And so, how can you not accept yourself? And as I accept myself more and more, practically to accept myself, what does it mean? I don't have waste thoughts about myself. I don't have doubts about myself. I don't worry about myself. And I put my life in Baba's hands. Even if I make a mistake, okay, fine, stop, learn, move on. Have the humility to check and change and move on. There's a nice slogan up in the room where we are. Life is one long lesson in humility. Powerful slogan. Constantly. We make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes every day. It's, you do. But fine, that's how I learn. And, you make mistakes because you're taking risks. To try something new, to interact with someone you don't know, to, move into a new field of service, to come closer to the instruments, to come closer to the daddies. All the time we're doing new things. So that's why we make mistakes. It's natural. Because sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, but that's how you learn. If you sit in a corner and stay in the same environment, what will you learn? Nothing. Zilch. Nil. So all the time, we're trying new things. We're trying new things within ourselves. Sometimes we try a new awareness. We think it's so great. And then we start to interact on that basis and other people react to us. We say, oh gosh, why are they reacting? I'm in such a good stage. Have you ever had that experience? I think I'm in the best stage. And others are sort of not wanting to talk to me. Why? Because I have the arrogance of my stage. So nobody wants to know me then. But I tried, so I learned. But if I didn't try, I wouldn't learn. Do you see what I mean? It's okay. It's fine. Then don't say, at that time, nobody recognizes me and they're all wrong. No. Say, okay, let me change this. Let me really be in that stage. Just an example. There'll be so many examples you can think of for yourself. Change. It's part of Brahmin life. That's what we're here for. We won't be the same one day to the next, 1 minute to the next. Always moving. That's the joy of Brahmin life. And of course, if I'm accepting myself in this way, then accepting others is easy. But it's so easy as well for us to judge others. This is something I know I really have to practice inside. When I'm with someone else, I'm meeting them, I'm talking to them, or I'm just watching them, anything. We interact with so many people the whole day. Do I have thoughts about that person? It's so subtle. One is very gross. Look at them. Or we say to someone, oh, do you know what so-and-so did? Wrong. Gossip. Just yesterday somebody mentioned something. Could have been a very juicy gossip. I said, oh, okay. And I so consciously, I'm not going to ask another question about it. I'm not going to delve. I'm not going to... In fact, 2 people hinted something to me. I didn't ask further. I thought, I'm going to practice. Not going to get my head into all this stuff. If something needs to come to me, it'll come to me. I don't need to seek it. And when we're with other people, it's so easy to judge them. We don't think we're judging, but it's so easy to judge them. We think sometimes that we're helping them to put them right. And they feel it. They feel the pressure of that. And once you have an impression once of somebody, it stays with you. Have you found that? And you see that person with that vision. It's so subtle. You tell yourself you're not, but you are. I have to go really become very soul conscious and become completely neutral in my thinking. Because whatever someone was yesterday, they might not be the same today. Whatever they were last year, am I going to treat them the same as they were a year ago? Would I like someone to do that to me? How would I feel? Sometimes you meet someone after a while and you feel they're seeing you as you were, 10 years ago, and you want to jump up and say, but I've changed. No, just be. They'll understand. But let me not do that to anyone, and let me save myself from a huge category of waste thinking, have birth control over waste, as Baba said yesterday. We need a lot of birth control in here. A waste thought comes, we give it hospitality, and it has lots of children. Sometimes it's a 5-star hotel in here, and the waste thoughts sit down very comfortably. And after yesterday's Murali, I can say it's a maternity hospital in here. They come in, they have all their children. Many, many, many thoughts. No. Because when you're soul conscious, you have few thoughts. When you're body conscious, you have lots of thoughts. And they keep increasing. So practice birth control in your mind. Let me really wish everyone the best. Wish for everyone that they move forward, that they go ahead, that they shine, that they come close to Baba. If I don't wish that, then I won't be able to have that introverted stage myself. I will allow others in my mind to go forward enough, but they shouldn't overtake me. I'll keep that comparison. I'll withhold some good wishes. I'll give them this much good wishes, but not this much good wishes. If the daddies did that to us, where would we be today? How would we be instruments today? All of us in our own way. Wouldn't be possible. Sometimes, you really feel that, and someone mentioned this yesterday, and I'm sure you've all felt this at times, that what has empowered you more than anything is the trust that seniors have had in you. Have you felt that? And in a way, on the surface, there's no reason to trust you. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when you see Daddy interacting with others and, you have a judgmental thought. Well, they're only at that level, and Daddy is asking them to do, trust. And where there's trust, you rise to that. That's how we've all progressed. And so it's important that I put that trust in others. Otherwise, how can Baba's work expand? And how can I develop in my stage if I don't put that trust in others and accept that others can rise to that just as I have? Why not? I must always give others the same chance and more. So acceptance is a very, very powerful concept, and it makes us completely free. It makes us free from judgment, free from comparison, free from fear, accepting drama. Wow. Then I love the drama, whatever it is. Every scene that comes, something to learn. Sometimes the scenes that come, you can resist them and you become miserable. Or accept them, embrace them, and you grow at every moment. Accept. Very powerful thing to keep in the mind. Okay, let me leave it there and give a little time for any comments or questions. Om Shanti. And acceptance, well, I haven't mentioned the word, but it's part of love. Can't accept without love, but the whole thing we've been talking about is an expression of love, right? This is love. Okay, anyone want to say anything? I know. What you do when you feel you want to accept someone but you just can't, it's just ... They're just so awful, right? I had a situation just recently, stunning situation actually, where, I won't repeat the detail obviously, but just an outpouring of those soul's angry negatives and scaras. And, at that moment you've got to understand, forget about yourself, because, you're not the one affected. They are, if they've got somebody else has very strong negatives and scars, okay, put yourself aside for the moment, to one side for the moment, and just say, let me understand what that soul needs. These kind of questions help me. What does that soul need? That soul's in pain. How can I help? I remember a situation where we were in a group and Daddy said something, and this soul said something to Daddy. It was such an insult. It was really, and it was their negativity coming out, really. Everybody was aware of that. And Daddy just went very quiet, and she didn't respond much at that moment. And then over the next 2 or 3 days, Daddy consciously gave that soul so much love. Sat with her for over an hour, took her out on a journey somewhere, spent more time with her. I was so touched, because here's a soul exhibiting a lot of anger actually, and Daddy just giving and giving and giving her time and giving love, so that the soul melted. Quite extraordinary. Not even, okay, if at least you think, well, if I don't react and I just don't answer back, that's good. That's not enough. That's a very limited way of dealing with it. But to keep on giving love, keep on giving love. but not in a way that you want to please that person. You know, sometimes when somebody is negative towards you, you feel rejected, so you want to please them so that they like you again, you know? If it's that sort of motivation, then it won't work. You're vulnerable, and because you want to take something, they'll continue to walk all over you. But, okay, if somebody's been angry or negative towards you, just know, I have to give more love to that soul. Otherwise, that negativity will continue. There's that love, the love I have isn't reaching the soul. That's why they could say that. And so, let me genuinely, consciously share, not because I need them to be nice to me or to be better, but because for their sake, let them be out of the pain that they're in. You know, so really understand what's happening with another person and really, really try to give something to help them. If I just sit there trying to deal with my own emotions, then it's like a mountain I can't climb, you know. But let me think about what I can give to that soul. I find that very, very helpful. And, you know, really know that, you know, today's Smriti, it was so sweet, the analogy, keep filling up with the goods and sharing, filling up with the goods and sharing. I loved it. And so let me just say, Baba, okay, Baba, what do you want to give me? What should I take? What can I share? You know, just keep that flow. Never let another person's behavior cut you off from Baba. You know, why? Why should they do that to you? So we have to be very, very strong. Now, you know, I mean, when those things used to happen to me, I used to feel very vulnerable, and it was like I was desperate to make the other person like me again. But now I don't feel so vulnerable, and I don't know especially what's changed other than more practice of soul consciousness, a deepening of my own stage, and, you know, a smoothing off of more of the rough edges of sanskars. But now I don't feel a desperate need that everybody's going to like me, because sometimes it's not going to happen. And so, but in doing that, I can give more love, and it happens more. You know what I mean? The thing we want, if we try for it, never comes. But when we give that love, because sometimes when you're following Srimad, and you know, and you want to really uphold those systems of the yajna, where there's other souls who have a lot of ego, they feel very challenged by that. And I've experienced this. And then they become negative towards you because they feel that their ego is being challenged because you're not accepting their point of view. You know, when people have a lot of ego and they challenge Baba's systems, they get into this mode of criticism, they get into this mode of thinking that the yajna is outdated or the systems are outdated. You know, they get into that kind of thinking, and if you follow Srimad accurately, it can become a challenge for such souls. And at that point then, that person isn't going to especially like you. But if you continue to give love, then at least they'll come round to accepting that that's the way you feel you have to work. At least that much they'll accept. And then hopefully later on they'll also not just accept it, but respect it, but become to accept it for myself. There's one particular situation where I've seen that transformation happen in a soul. And at first it was challenge. But because respect continued in the relationship, it's not that anymore. Now that soul understands much more clearly the value of Baba's systems. But I knew if I continued to judge that soul, they would have just never been able to come to that greater openness towards Baba's systems and the systems of the yajna. Am I making sense? So these things do happen, but we have to continue to do what's right. I mustn't compromise those systems that Baba has created. And secondly, let me not leave the task Baba's given me of sharing love with others. There's such a lovely story of Brahma Baba where Brahma Baba's elder brother came to see him. You know this story? Early days of the yajna. And of course, Baba had gone contrary to all the customs and systems of that time, and of the community and the culture. And so his elder brother was very, very against what he was doing. And in Indian custom, very traditional families, you don't go against your father, you don't go against your elder brother. They play that role of a parent too. And so his elder brother came to see him, and the two of them were in the room. And for 45 minutes, he just shouted at Baba and shouted and shouted, "What are you doing? What are you doing to our family?" You can imagine. And it was Daddy Gulzar who told this story, because some of the little girls were, at that time they were little, they were watching through the blinds, And when Baba came out, and when the brother went, and then Baba came, and Brahma Baba just sat there. Baba didn't say anything. Baba just listened. And then when eventually the brother stopped and he left, and then Baba came out of the room, and the little girls ran up to Baba. Baba, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you defend yourself? Baba, you just stayed quiet. And Baba said, "Acha, you were listening?" And then Baba just said to them, "Well, when somebody feels sick, then they have to vomit it out. And after they vomit, they feel better." And so he came and did what he had to do, and Baba did what he had to do. Very lovely. So he had to get out all his stuff. But what did Baba have to do? Stay silent, stay loving, stay peaceful, and not start to react even slightly in the same way as the brother was approaching him. That's another thing. Somebody acts in a certain way towards us, and we start to act in the same way at the same level. Wrong. How can I uplift that soul? Only if I respond with something more spiritual, something greater, something of a broader vision, then I'm doing my task. Otherwise I just respond at the same level, none of us will go anywhere, and there's no resolution to that. I have to do something more, but whatever that soul is doing, let me be introvert and not leave what I have to do. Don't know if that's helped. Why is it so difficult to forgive somebody who's arrogant? Well, usually because we're arrogant and we want them to say sorry, right? If I want somebody to say sorry to me, well, why? Because my ego's been hurt, They should. So if I have humility, fine, I wouldn't even... What's it to me? It's between them and God. They have their... I remember a situation where somebody was really, really insulting in front of a lot of people, and I told Daddy, I'm not going to speak to them until they say sorry. And Daddy made them say sorry. But, when I look back, this was a few years ago, well, that was my stage, and that's what I needed, but, why? Why? All of this relates so much to what Baba was saying in the last Murli, removing any trace of I-ness. And by really going into the depths of who am I, that's how we remove the trace of I-ness, because we experience the real I. And well, I had another lottery on the way to Madhuband this time in Ahmedabad. I was able to spend a little time with Daddy Gulzar, and so I asked her, she's on her way to Bombay, so I asked her, what do you feel was Baba's special message in this last Murli? And this is what she said, to remove the trace of I-ness. And I said, oh Daddy, it's a big task. And she looked, she just said, well, she put it so practically. If I want something to happen in a certain way and it doesn't happen, then I get angry. And if something's happened in the way I want it to happen and there's success in that service or whatever, I'm very happy, then I get arrogant. I said, oh Daddy, well, we're trapped on both sides. It was very interesting. How do you understand whether there's I-ness in the self? And, is there some percentage of either one of those responses? I was looking at myself then very much when she said that. Very simple. Either a little bit of anger because things are not going as I think they should be, or, that's it now. So, a lot of work. Baba's given us lots of homework to do. And also just another example, it was Daddy Rotam Mohini in London a few years ago. Somebody asked her in a program, what happens if, how do you deal, this was in a public program, how do you deal with the situation where somebody in front of many others stands up and insults you, and accuses you of doing something wrong? And again, her answer was so practical. She said, well, if you really have done something wrong, accept it. And if you haven't done anything wrong, just ignore it. So practical. But where the I-ness comes in, we can't do either of those things. We can't ignore it, we have to prove ourselves. And we also can't accept. We still try to prove they're wrong and I'm right. So I'm sure when Daddy Janki comes, she'll be also taking up a lot of things around this theme. Anything else? I think it's time for us to close soon. Maybe a few more minutes. If there's anything? No? With some other
outcomes of that, that's something that you have to receive. You are there because of the mistake that I have done. They are not going to give you that, and things like that means.
Yeah, sometimes it's very difficult. You heard the question. Okay, somebody insults you, you've done something wrong, you accept it, but then there are many other outcomes. Then they won't give you what you need or whatever, in a practical way. But then that's why I really need acceptance and a lot of patience. I've got to let go, because if I still try to make the outcome okay, I'm going to get very upset about the whole situation. A lot of humility and a lot of patience. And if I really do have that humility and patience and acceptance, the other person will begin to change towards me. But it has to be deep within me. If I'm showing I'm patient, I'm sitting quietly, but inside I'm reacting, the situation won't change. But really from my heart I accept, and then I say, okay, if there's some punishment along with it, meaning in the sense that something else I can't do, or I have to be deprived from doing a thing I want to do, or whatever it is, I say, okay, I accept. I made the mistake, so I have to accept. Now let me just, now look after my own stage. And then things will work out in the end. Ultimately they'll work out. was when one day I sat down and I looked at this person and I said, what do I want from this person? You know? I freed myself from needing anything. And I became free. And it was a relief, you know? She likes me, she doesn't like me, she does this, she does that. Oh, you know, let me not need anything. You know, it was a relief inside to say, it's okay. You know, how long am I going to keep begging some result from this person? It's not going to come. And, you know, when I felt relieved, then the dynamics of the relationship began to change. It was amazing that I didn't have to make any effort. It was a very interesting thing to experience. And, you know, that's where we become less vulnerable and stronger inside. When we need something, even a little something from someone, we're vulnerable. We're very vulnerable to being hurt by them. And we get hurt. Happens. But when we don't need, when we have that introverted stage, when we really are, you know, taking the attainments from Baba, then it's fine. I'm a giver, I'm not a taker. It works, definitely works. But you really have to do it from our heart. I don't need anything from anyone. Let go, let go, let go. I was really practicing that this year. Let go, let go, let go. And then, yes, before coming to Madhuban, last couple of months, I forgot the practice a little. But that practice helped me a lot.
How you don't need blessing? You need blessings from Savior to our going. Every communication, every relationship, every act to get blessing.
You need blessings, yes. But if I don't need, in the sense of, I don't need the things that are limited, you know? A person to be nice to me, somebody to love me, somebody to give me recognition, somebody to praise me. If I'm free from these needs, then automatically the blessings will come. You can't actually engineer getting blessings. You can't seek blessings. You can't make a plan to get blessings. It doesn't work like that. You make a plan to get other things. You give someone a gift, so you plan to get their little bit of, you know, love, or you plan to do something for them so that they praise you. You know, you can plan the limited things. Blessings you can't plan. And so as that virtue develops in you and you give with a true heart, the blessings of others come to you very naturally. So your own stage creates that stage where blessings come to you. And I agree, we need blessings, but the foundation for blessings is creating the stage where we're worthy to receive blessings of others. You see what I mean? And then Baba gives me lots of blessings. Baba's always giving us blessings, but blessings are number-wise. And really, when the soul is, you know, very honest, you know, Baba says the Lord is pleased with an honest heart. And the biggest way to get blessings from Baba is just honesty. Have an honest heart. Be honest with the daddies, you get their blessings. They're not asking you to be perfect before they give you blessings, but honesty gets blessings. And you know, if you're honest with Baba, honest with yourself, honest with, you know, the seniors, and generally very honest in your dealings, you know. You never try to manipulate others, or, you know, people know that if you say something, it really, you mean what you say. It's very real. You're not hiding anything. You know, when you have this kind of honesty in your dealings and your interactions, then people develop that trust in you. And where people trust you, you get a lot of blessings. Where there's any kind of mistrust, people can't give you blessings. They're very wary of you. So honesty on every level wins trust and blessings. And also, then Baba will always also use us more and more. You know, the qualifications to be an instrument are not many talents and skills, you know. We can all learn skills. Anybody can learn skills. But the qualification to be an instrument is to be honest, to have a true heart. And then Baba will teach you all the skills you need. So, yeah.